Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of Sirhan on X, live from Cincinnati, Ohio, here in the United States. I hope everyone had themselves a wonderful 5th of February 2025, closing in on Super Bowl weekend. I will touch on that more so later today and more so tomorrow when I give my official prediction. Hope everyone had themselves a wonderful day today. A little bit on the chilly side today. Got below 30 again with a wintry mix that just is taking place out here right now. So I'm staying indoors. And if you guys are in the Cincinnati area, it's probably asked you just stay indoors and not go outside simply because, it might be a little chilly for you and the conditions might get a little bit on the slick side if you have to drive. So just be careful if you're going out in the streets over here. Hope everyone has themselves a wonderful day. Just going to touch up on some stuff today. Relive a historical rivalry moment, and we're going to just kick this thing off here real quick. Of course, start with what took place in the NFL today. A couple standout edge rushers make the news because they made guest appearances. First one, of course, was the Browns defensive end Myles Garrett talking to Rich Eisen today on the Rich Eisen show, basically coming out and guess he talked to LeBron James when LeBron James, left Cleveland for Miami the first time in the infamous The Decision. Guess he asked him about what it was like to leave Cleveland. I guess when he talked to Rich Eisen, he reiterated his point as to why he asked for a trade. It was simply because he feels like Cleveland can build a winner right now, and they're just not going anywhere. And he just wants to be on a team that can contend, given that he's going to probably be 30 at some point when the season starts. Goes back to what I said all time for the last 3 years. I have to reiterate it again because you guys in the Northeastern Ohio, especially in Cleveland, still don't get it. This is a product of what happened when you forked out those 3 first-round draft picks for Deshaun Watson and signed him to the fully guaranteed contract. And it's like everybody has to tell you this every day till you guys get it, because 90% of you guys up there in Cleveland don't. Myles Garrett is a premier edge rusher, probably the face of your franchise during this time of the last few years, despite your acquisition of Deshaun Watson. And if it got to this point, it's a real problem. You guys try to stick up for your general manager, Andrew Berry, calling him a cap specialist, having to reorganize the cap, restructure contracts to try and keep everybody. Looks like the time is out in the hourglass simply because Myles Garrett is basically standing firm in his position. I can't blame the guy. I mean, you basically, when you made this trade for Deshaun Watson, not only did you throw Baker Mayfield under the bus, you basically spit in the face of Myles Garrett because they talked about going from Cleveland to Canton, and Myles Garrett, I guess, spun that quote around and threw it into his face a little bit because he wants to play on a contender where they can contend for a Super Bowl, which I don't blame him given the standout edge rusher he is in the NFL and the years he put into that franchise trying to carry that defense, which has been hit and miss basically this whole time. Maybe the only exceptions were the deep playoff run he had in 2020 when he got to the NFC divisional round in Kansas City. And of course, we went to the playoffs in 23. We got dog walked by Houston. This is a ricochet effect of what happens when you mismanage a salary cap, fork out your future to try to win in the present, and it backfires on you. Because this is probably not just the work that the Deshaun Watson trade is not only the worst trade maybe in sports history, maybe the biggest backfire in sports history when you talk about what you had to fork out to get for this guy. As I said all along, this is the same guy who basically quit against Kansas City in the 2019 divisional game after he was spotted a 24-0 lead. Because when Kansas City turned it up, he checked out. He had the mediocre year in 2020, which led Houston to a 4-12 record. Sat out the whole 2021 season, and led to the allegations. It was basically a self-imposed holdout because he didn't want to go to Houston, stay in Houston anymore. And Cleveland was the one that forked out the draft picks to get him, signed him to the fully guaranteed contract, and now look what's happened as a result. You haven't even done anything of significance since then, and your one playoff appearance in 2023 was because you called Joe Flacco off the couch, not because of Deshaun Watson. That's why this is happening to Myles Garrett. That is why he wants to play for a contender. And it seems like the franchise doesn't want to do anything of significance to put a contender out here to appease the face of their franchise right now, which is Myles Garrett. And it's going to be a wild offseason over there in Cleveland. Good luck down the line, because I told you, and many people told you 3 years ago when you made the Deshaun Watson trade, something like this was going to come today. You guys didn't want to listen then. Some of you guys still don't want to listen because some of you guys just don't get it. This is the end result of that contract, because this cap hit is going to be well over the $80 million mark in 2025, as I understood it. And you're not going to be able to weasel your way out of this one. It's going to cost you guys key players over the next year or two. I wish you nothing but the best of luck, because you're going to need it. You guys thought you were going to overtake Baltimore, Cincinnati, and Pittsburgh in that division. Didn't work. You guys thought you was going to run Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow out of Baltimore and Cincinnati, respectively. It didn't happen. If anything, that contract became the poster child of why you should never fully guarantee a contract to any player in the NFL, especially to one who brought the baggage Deshaun Watson got. So congratulations on that one, because you guys are now the poster child for what not to do to fork out the compensation you did and to give a fully guaranteed contract. You guys are officially the poster children of this particular contract for the reasons you don't think it is. I'll probably talking about this a lot more, and all of us probably will, because you guys in Cleveland still don't get it. You guys wanted this guy 3 years ago when he threw Baker Mayfield under the bus. You got him. Now you guys want to jump off? No, that's not going to work under me. You made that bet 3 years ago when you wanted him. Now shut your mouths, go line it, and go away, because you guys deserve everything you're getting right now. It's going to cost you your franchise player as a result, more than likely. Now, speaking about premier edge rushers, earlier today, it was over here at Cincinnati, the standout Trey Hendrickson was on Pat McAfee's show, basically saying he didn't know about the comments Duke Tobin made about, paying players, that he never was told about this, and that he wants to do everything here in Cincinnati to help the team get to that point. Here we are in 2025 with all of these electronics, all cellular phones, all the social media, all 50 types of messaging apps, 20 different types of texting apps, 15 different types of ways to email people, 20 different ways to video chat people. And here's the Cincinnati Bengals, still stuck in the 1970s, still doesn't know how to communicate with their players or to be transparent. Bad luck. You're talking about, just like Myles Garrett in Cleveland trying to carry that defensive front, Trey Hendrickson's done the same thing with this defense here in Cincinnati. 35 sacks in 23 and 24 put together. And now you guys are, he basically said, nobody said anything to me. That the Bengals front office hasn't even bothered talking to him. Now, of course, there was rumors flying around here in Cincinnati that they didn't talk to T. Higgins this offseason, which, I don't partake in it because Bengals fans like to spew lies and garbage. I let my eyes do the dictating. But this is not a good look for the Bengals front office again, because All you guys in Cincinnati wanted Joe Burrow to be the highest paid quarterback in NFL history. You got it. Now you guys seem like you guys just tucked your tail between your legs and backpedal because you guys don't even give a darn. Because you guys push for this, but when it comes to guys like Trey Hendrickson, you want to deal with this. Here's the problem I had with Cincinnati over the last 3 years, and I got called out on this at the end of the season. I'm going to have to respond now respectively because I got a chance to let the two eyes do the seeing and let it coordinate to my brain a little bit. We had these so-called super fans or cosplay fans, whatever the hell you want to call them, like Zim, Kelsey Conway, the Bengals captain, whatever these cowards are. Chris Walling being the number one on that hit list, being a coward himself. Wanted Joe Burrow to be the highest paid quarterback in NFL history. Now they want to pay top dollar to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins on top of having Joe Burrow the highest paid quarterback in NFL history. Well, they got the Joe Burrow job done. They did not take into consideration how the hell the salary cap works because they're so fixated on their big three, which is Burrow, Chase, and Higgins. They forgot they had a tier 10 offensive line who couldn't even protect the statue to save their lives. And it is simply because these guys want these three guys and nobody else on their roster. They think if they keep Burrow, Chase, and Higgins, they was going to have the second coming of a New England Patriots dynasty or even the run that Kansas City has of Patrick Mahomes is going on right now. Doesn't work that way. You guys don't know how to do math when it comes to salary cap. And when Trey Hendrickson came out with this today, it basically validated my point because you're going to want all these guys pay. All these guys want to be paid. It's a case of not enough spoons to feed the kids that are hungry. And I don't know what direction you're going to go. Now, I've said all along, they're going to pay Jamar Chase. That's a no-brainer. They're paying Jamar Chase. Problem is they waited 1 year too late for that one. It's more going to come down to Hendrickson or Higgins because Hendrickson wants top dollar. Whereas Higgins wants something north of $31 million a year, which good luck trying to get that. Somebody else will probably pay him if the Cincinnati Bengals don't tag him. But it's a situation, again, where the Bengals front office continues to show their colors. We lived through this for 3 decades. And everybody's trying to tell them to, on these social media apps to get with the times. Don't tell it on the social media apps. Don't tell it on the television sets. Don't tell it in the newspapers. Don't tell it up to me. Don't tell it to the television sets. Go to the Bengals front office and tell them yourselves because I have nothing to do with this. That's why I stand over here. Don't blame me for it because you guys are the ones that wanted it. You guys are the ones that got it. Now, like Cleveland fans, you made their bid. Now go lie in it because what's going to happen in the 2025 offseason is going to be nothing but a wild adventure because somebody is going to be left out in the cold. I don't know who it's going to be, but somebody will be. And we're going to have a bunch of unhappy idiots here in Cincinnati, per usual. Don't blame me for this because I told you guys what was going to happen when you guys made the false accusation of accusing the Kansas City Chiefs of quitting in the season finale against the Denver Broncos with one of the most despicable acts I've ever seen. You guys in Cincinnati are getting exactly what you deserve as a result because you don't know what you want, and you guys also don't know how things work and can't do things the correct way. Don't blame me for it. I just told you like what it was. I'm going to stand by my guns till the end of time. I'll be talking about this more because free agency is about to start. It's going to be wild here in Cincinnati. And news just broke about an hour ago, and I don't know where we're going to go with this. I guess the NFL was like they expand their global games. They play it in Europe. They play it in Spain. I know they're going to have one in Germany. Now they want to go to Australia in 2026. It's the Rams, the LA Rams being the designated home team. How many people actually really in the NFL community, I'm talking about deep in the NFL community, mostly players and coaches, actually like to travel abroad? Because as I said all along, the NFL quit giving a darn about player safety a long time ago. And this is another example of it. Because now you're asking these guys, it's bad enough you guys ask them to travel to countries like Spain, London, and even Germany for games. Now you want them to go to Australia, which I believe is somebody correct me, this is a 12-hour difference. I mean, what are you going to accomplish out of this? Especially LA, which is 3 hours west of where I currently reside. It's a Pacific time zone. Having to fly to Australia, so basically a 12-hour difference. I mean, the NFL wants to be this biggest cash cow. I get it. But I get the whole European thing. You can do it once in a while. But now they're starting to get real carried away, not give a darn about player safety, and now they're wanting to expand this to Australia. They quit giving a darn about player safety a long time ago because we know the NFL likes to be this marketing cash cow that took place for the longest time. And they're still here we are doing it again, winning a game in Australia, which to me makes little to no sense. I mean, I can understand wanting to go to. I mean, I can see going to Canada because I think the Buffalo Bills had some games there not too long ago. I think they're at Niagara Falls. Somebody at Buffalo could correct me on that one. I sort of understand London and Spain and Germany, but how the hell are you going to tell me you're going to have a game in Australia that's a 12-hour difference? I mean, get a grip. I get you want to expand your product globally. I get it that you guys want to become an international phenomenon. Thing is, you're already an international phenomenon before you went all NFL Europe because you guys were generating ratings worldwide. Was that not good enough? You guys seem like to need more. Good luck with this one because I have an itch. This is not going to sit well with some of the players or those in the NFL community. I can tell you this: I wouldn't like it myself. This is going to get real wild. I wouldn't be surprised if at some point they're talking about winning teams in other countries. How are you going to manage this in the schedule? I mean, you already have your division structured almost by territory, almost. AFC East, North, South, and West. Same with the NFC East, North, South, and West. How are you going to put an international team in all of this? Because then you're talking about having these international teams come to the States several times a season. It's not a good look. I'm interested to see how this pans out. Just like they're going to have the whole 18-game season thing coming up. We'll see how everything goes. But as I said for the longest time, the NFL quit giving darns about player safety. The NFL quit giving darns about, player opinions. And not even the Players Association even gives a darn because they even spoke out against it. It seemed like they're just tucking their tail and bending the knee to Roger Goodell's demands. That's going to be a problem moving forward. Probably more NFL stuff later on. Of course, the Super Bowl this Sunday. Again, I got a chance to see all the festivities and everything. Of course, both teams look real confident, look real ready. Biggest news, of course, Jalen Carter, the standout defensive tackle for Philly, didn't practice today because he wasn't available because of a illness. Don't know what the status of that one is, but I expect him to play come Sunday because they're going to need him because they need to generate some pressure on that Kansas City front to get to Patrick Mahomes. That's why they lost the Super Bowl 57 2 years ago because they couldn't even get to the guy. They're going to need him to find a way to generate pressure. Otherwise, who knows what's going to happen come Sunday. Now to some news in the NBA. A little bit of a mini shocker. But then again, after what happened with Luka Doncic, nothing's a shocker anymore in the NBA. That is Khris Middleton being traded to the Washington Wizards for Kyle Kuzma. A couple pieces in there. I can't remember what. I think a draft pick was involved. I don't know where this trade gets Milwaukee because now you have two defensive liabilities on your roster in Damian Lillard and Kyle Kuzma. I think Kuzma might have a bit of a mini resurrection here, playing for a winner as opposed to Washington. But I don't know why you would let go the glue of your franchise and Khris Middleton next to Giannis Antetokounmpo. Because I said all along, if it wasn't for Khris Middleton's performance in Game 4 of the 2021 NBA Finals, when they looked like they were going to lose to the Phoenix Suns, and Khris Middleton's play in that fourth quarter of Game 4, even the series, changed the momentum and allowed Milwaukee Bucks to win the title. I said if it wasn't for Khris Middleton in Game 4, Milwaukee wasn't winning the title. Because Giannis no-showed. Some other players was just here every now and then. But Khris Middleton put up 40 points, including 10 in the final 2 minutes of that game. And basically just put the lockdown on Devin Booker and allowed the team to win Game 4 to even the series and swing the momentum into Milwaukee's favor to win the title in 2021. It's going to be a bigger loss than you think. Maybe not in terms of the production, because Khris Middleton is not the scorer he was during those finals, because, of course, he was coming off, had the bad ACL and MCL injury a couple years ago. But I think he was a glue, one of those hand-in-glove perfection fits for Milwaukee to keep this team afloat. Now, Kyle Kuzma might produce him in production because Kuzma can, when he's on, he can fill up the scoreboard on the stat sheet. But he doesn't bring the extra intangibles Khris Middleton does. And I said Khris Middleton was an underrated two-way player, especially on that Milwaukee team, where they don't win the title in 2021 without his play, because he hit some big shots at big moments throughout the 2021 playoffs, especially the opening round series against Miami, where he just really turned it up after Miami eliminated them in the 2020 playoffs. They were looking for payback. It was Middleton turning it up and allowing Milwaukee to get the revenge sweep and to get onto the NBA Finals. Milwaukee's going to miss Middleton more than you think. I mean, I said if it wasn't for his play in the 2021 Finals, they're not ringing. And I said he was a real Finals MVP, not Giannis Antetokounmpo. And of course, speaking of the trade front, now I guess everybody's taking calls about Kevin Durant. And now I guess the Dallas Mavericks suddenly are interested in Durant after they let go of Luka Doncic. Wouldn't you be more adequate with having Kevin Durant with Luka Doncic when you had him on your roster? Why are you suddenly interested in him now? I mean, what did he gain out of getting a Kevin Durant after letting, your top four player of the NBA out the way you sent Luka Doncic out the door? Would you want to pair Kevin Durant with Kyrie Irving, Luka Doncic, and Klay Thompson? Now you just want Kevin Durant suddenly after you get Anthony Davis? This sort of makes no sense. I mean, of course, we're still trying to facilitate why Dallas decided to send Luka Doncic to the Los Angeles Lakers for Anthony Davis. And now this just makes the whole thing more of a bigger mess than you would anticipate, simply because you would think, now I'm not a specialist on this, you would think they'd have a better way of getting Kevin Durant on Dallas if Luka Doncic was still on that roster. Because think about a four-headed monster you would have. Kyrie Irving, Luka Doncic, Klay Thompson, and Kevin Durant on the perimeter. Now, of course, they would probably have to still facilitate and try to get some bigs in their roster, because they still had Gafford on the roster, who was just eaten up by Kristaps Porzingis in the finals last season. But why would you be interested in Kevin Durant now after you traded Luka Doncic? It seemed like the Dallas front office and whoever's running this organization right now has taken a massive, massive PR hit, and understandably and rightfully so. Because it's not just the fact they traded him, it's how they went about it. I mean, we talk about the lack of communication here in Cincinnati. How can you not communicate this stuff to your star player and let him know what's going on? You don't even approach anybody about this, and you just let him off the hook. You just decided to trade him. Now you want Kevin Durant. I know he's not the same Kevin Durant he was when he was in Oklahoma City and Golden State, when he was a top flight player winning MVPs. But he's still a very, very sound, efficient player. But I'm not sure what you getting him now after you sent Luka Doncic out the door. Maybe just a way to let Dallas know you're trying to build a winner. I don't know what you're going to get out of that, because the whole situation of Dallas just hit rock bottom and basically just melted into sands right now, because it is just terrible, and I mean terrible, what happened when you traded Luka Doncic. To even put yourselves a name for Kevin Durant after this, you're basically trying to insult the intelligence of the fan base. You're trying to smack in the face of the fan base, almost like a backhanded compliment, saying, we let Luka Doncic go, but we're going to get Kevin Durant. That makes basically next to no sense. If Luka Doncic was still on that roster, I could see you trying to get Kevin Durant. It makes a lot of sense. But after this, doesn't make any sense at all. Good luck, Dallas, because you're going to have a long time trying to rebuild and recover from what you did to Luka Doncic. And I know Dallas fans already said, we don't want to win a title now. We wanted to win it with Luka Doncic as our guy. That's something nobody there understood. I'm with them on this one. Boy, poor Dallas. I mean, it's bad enough they have to put up with Jerry Jones. They have to put up with Nico Harrison. I don't want to be them. I don't want to be a Dallas sports fan right now, because it's just embarrassing. Now to some news in the world of boxing. News came out today that the Alexander Povetkin again supposedly tested positive for a banned substance in 2021. That he now is going to be on placed on a 4-year ban, and now has 10 years of career accolades or career records just wiped off his record. So it's back to all the way to 2014. The drug is, of course, is Osterman. We know the story here with how Osterman works, because we have idiots in the boxing community who think they know how it works when it doesn't. Need I remind you, back in 2016, he was supposed to fight Deontay Wilder as the mandatory for Wilder's title, and Wilder basically just was forced to come back because of the flunk test. Wilder and his promoter Lou DiBella sue everybody involved, understandably so. And I guess Povetkin's people tried to sue for defamation of character, which they lost a suit, which I believe they lost several. I believe it areas of $4 million, being Wilder and his then promoter Lou DiBella for the legal fees in regards to this, which they were right to sue because they were basically misled the whole time. And now I'm going to steal a quote here from Lou DiBella, a very, very, very respected boxing aficionado who was a mainstay of HBO Sports for the longest time, had his own promotion for the longest time, DiBella Entertainment, who I respect the hell out of, because when you think of HBO Sports World Championship Boxing for many years, he was one of the big guns in charge of it. This is what he had to say. This is a counter to one of those so idiotic governing bodies when it comes to steroid testing. He basically calls steroid testing as a joke. I'm just paraphrasing because it contains language I won't use. That includes the program of one of the governing bodies. If you guys follow boxing, I think you know what it is. They have we can do whatever we want sort of mantra, because select people take the test, and we know how crazy the drug testing is really in all sports, but boxing is even more magnified given what happened with last year with the Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney garbage. And he basically called Povetkin a steroid cheater. He's right. He won it in the court hearing. He has every right to call him that now. After this, he said, after all this time, basically he brought up the countersuit that Povetkin and his people tried to defame Lou DiBella for, basically calling him every filthy, lying, worthless being, the degrading human being Povetkin is. After this point, he has a point, because here we are again having a discussion about Alexander Povetkin failing another drug test. I think it's like the fourth drug test he's failed. I can remember. I know he failed the one against Wilder. He had at least one or two in the middle before this came out. But the question I have is, why are you doing this now when the guy basically is already retired? Because the last time he fought, he was planted by the Dillian White. After he beat Dillian White, more than likely was on something when he flattened Dillian White. Then I guess one of these governing bodies fired back at Lou DiBella again for whatever reason, and then Lou just told him straight up he can have any disappointment forever he wants, and that no steroid program has any teeth. He's right. By the way, if you're watching Lou DiBella, I'm sorry for using your quote, because as someone who's passionate about the sport of boxing as you are, I echo your sentiments, and I've echoed it for the longest time. It had to be brought up simply because you said this then, you said it now. We said it many times, especially with the Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney fiasco. Drug testing has become a joke, basically in all of sports, not just boxing, all of sports. Because we see it in the NFL, we see it in the NBA, even in Major League Baseball. If you remember, baseball had that congressional hearing about steroid stuff where Bud Selig threw Donald Fear under the bus. I mean, you could not be more spot on with this. And we talk about this situation. The judge's decision in this case basically ruled in favor of Wilder and DiBella against Povetkin when they tried to file the countersuit to try and save his name when he didn't have a leg to stand on. Lou DiBella can say and do anything he wants. And I'll say this to Lou DiBella, I echo everything you said. You got a supporter in you right here, because I said all along, substance abuse in all sports, the testing has become a joke, a bigger joke in boxing, especially the governing body you went after. I'm not naming the individual or the name because they don't deserve the time of day. They're every bit as crooked as Alexander Povetkin is. And basically, you can just read it on Lou DiBella's X platform. He just went off, and I echo the sentiment, because it's time. We have swifter drug testing and swifter results. I mean, this is not the first guy that went through this. I mean, there's a bunch of fighters over the last 2.5 decades since this program entered in, and basically, it's been basically a joke. They nitpick who they want to suspend, who they want to wipe wins or strip belts from. There's a total inconsistency and a blatant joke that has gone on not just in the drug testing in boxing, drug testing in all of sports. There needs to be something more uniform to where swifter actions need to be taken, because everything I've seen so far is nothing more than a slap on the wrist. Actually, more like a tap on the shoulder, not a slap on the wrist. It's a joke. It's an embarrassment. Granted, there's some substances you can put in legally and basically get away with it because people don't understand. Now we have the technology as it is. There's a banned substance list all over the place. You take anything that's on the banned substance list, you're getting out. You're getting sanctioned, like it or not. I don't care what sport it is. I don't care what level it is. I don't want to hear about people saying, I didn't know what I put in my body. BS. You knew what you put in your body. You know you're responsible for what you put in your body. And if you can't accept responsibility, get out. Because nobody wants to deal with you. Period. Shout out to Lou DiBella for that one, especially Deontay Wilder. I mean, I've been the harshest Wilder critic because of his boxing, but for this, he had a valid point for Povetkin to do a countersuit, just make himself look like a fool. Judge ruled in his favor massively. If anything, the court should be forced to pay DiBella and Wilder all the legal fees. I believe it's in the essence of $4 million for the counter defamation suit, because they were the rightful winners. It's a shame they haven't gotten that yet. Sorry, Lou DiBella, if I had to read your quote, because I echo your sentiments. Now to a more friendly way of boxing. We're going to take a trip to the Wayback Machine nearly 80 years ago today. We've had rivalries of our time. Ali Frazier, Holyfield Bowe, Barrera Morales, Gatti Ward, Israel Vasquez versus Rafael Marquez. The premier rivalry before all of this started with Jake Lamotta and the great Sugar Ray Robinson. Lamotta, the durable, rough guy, probably the greatest chin in boxing history, faces the unbeaten Sugar Ray Robinson. Debate as to whether it's his first loss or how many wins Robinson had. Turned out Lamotta gets a decision, basically just roughs Sugar Ray Robinson up for 10 rounds. It was probably the toughest fight of Robinson's career at that point. Jake Lamotta, if you want to know the story about Jake Lamotta, just watch The Raging Bull, because that's Jake Lamotta in a nutshell. Lamotta is just one of the standout, pure tough guys. Arguably the greatest chin and toughest fighter in boxing history. A strong case for it. Granted, there's a lot of criteria you can use. For some of the more modern guys have that distinction also. But maybe ever, Jake Lamotta had it. And he showed it this night when he got the only win in a 6-fight series against the great Sugar Ray Robinson. Of course, the next 5 fights, Sugar Ray Robinson did anything and everything he wanted to. He captivated by the 6th fight, which is known as the St. Valentine's Day Massacre, that took place over 75 years ago, where Robinson just beat the bricks up of Lamotta and turned his face inside out. But this fight, maybe it was what the doctor ordered for a Sugar Ray Robinson to ascend himself to this distinction of the greatest fighter ever in the pound-for-pound categories. His career is second to none. Multiple-time champion welterweight, multiple-time champion middleweight. Could argue the greatest ever in both those weight classes. Definitely a welterweight, and definitely probably top 3 or 4 at middleweight. Just did it all. Knew the ropes. And we talk about ring generalship. Nobody did it better than Sugar Ray Robinson. There's a reason why he had the distinction, deservedly so, of the greatest fighter pound for pound of the world. And I will say this, you're going to have a hard time convincing me somebody else of the modern era is in the conversation, because nobody did it like this guy. The record speaks for itself. The career accolades speak for itself. The multiple titles speak for itself. And I'll say this again because I talked about this in a show the other day. For you idiots who love titles so much, this was the one belt era where you win one belt, you're the king of the crop. Sugar Ray Robinson did that multiple times. Not these governing body belts that everybody likes to talk about, or fake championships like Daniel Dubois has, or fake belts like Zurdo Ramirez has. Real belts that mattered, one belt era, that was Sugar Ray Robinson. Stood out more than anything else. Jake LaMotta had a distinguished career also. Multiple great wins himself. I could go on and on with him. But it was on this day, over 80 years ago, the world was introduced to a 6-fight rivalry between Jake LaMotta and Sugar Ray Robinson. And it was the only time of the 6-fight series Jake LaMotta beat Sugar Ray Robinson and had his hand raised. Good for him to show how great Sugar Ray Robinson was, because he was able to not just beat him 5 times, but basically just dust him up and wipe him out. I mean, as tough and durable as Lamotta was, just goes to show how much greater Sugar Ray Robinson was. I mean, you talk about head and shoulders above everybody else during his time. Definitely, it was Sugar Ray Robinson, hands down. We talk about the Mount Rushmore we have in America. I mean, number one across every massive board. We talk about the all-time pound-for-pound rankings. Some people put Ali, Joe Louis, Henry Armstrong. Some people want to throw Harry Greb when there's no real footage or distinctions for Harry Greb. I'm not even going to do that because I don't know much about it. Willie Pep, even some of the people in the 70s and 80s, like Roberto Durant, during his time at lightweight, Marvin Hagler, Ray Leonard, Pernell Whitaker, guys like that I can live with. But as great as they were, and they were stellarly great, there is no doubt about it. I mean, think about the names I just mentioned. None of them could hold a candlelight to Sugar Ray Robinson. Because when he had the distinction of the greatest pound-for-pound fighter ever, not only did he own it, but when he owned it, he basically pulled away from the field and just sealed it. Even Muhammad Ali said it best several times. He calls himself the greatest, but when you talk about the pound-for-pound greatest, it's none other than Sugar Ray Robinson. We're never going to see another fighter like that in our lifetime. I mean, anything you try to do, Ray Robinson had an answer for. Especially if you talk about the series with Jake Lamotta, a durable fighter that Lamotta was, and Jake Lamotta was surreally great. I mean, he was surreally great, no doubt. Talk about probably a top 10 welterweight, middleweight all time. He still couldn't hold a candlelight to Sugar Ray Robinson. I mean, there's a reason why he's way up here and the field is down here, despite so many ultra elite all-time great fighters. I mean, I could go on and on about the greatness of Ray Robinson if I wanted to, but I got to condense my show short. I'll do that some other time. Because a lot of people here try to get fixated with what guys do because they protect their oaths on their record. Most notably, Terrence Crawford, Floyd Mayweather, among many others. Protecting your oath doesn't mean you're the greatest ever. Period. All it means you're just a good career manager. Sugar Ray Robinson basically fought, if he wanted to, he could have fought 5 days a week if he wanted to. And basically just wiped the floor with whoever he wanted to during those 5 days. That was Sugar Ray Robinson. That's why he's the greatest ever. Nobody's ever going to come close. You can dissect it you want. You can nitpick it all you want. You can go to BoxRec you want because BoxRec is anything but credible. If you think BoxRec is a credible site, go in a hospital, get checked for CTE, and bring me the results. Because BoxRec is anything but credible. It's basically boxing's version of an online ESPN. And we know how credible ESPN is. So I'm not even going to give that the time of day. But it was this time 80 years ago, the first of 6 fights between Ray Robinson and Jake Lamotta. You guys need to read stories about Jake Lamotta. Very, very stirring individual. Very well-liked individual. Probably the distinction of the toughest fighter to ever lace up the gloves and get in that ring. Maybe the greatest chin ever. I mean, at least has a strong case for it. Guy was hardly hurt. Granted, he got beat up all over the place by Robinson multiple times, among many others. But tough guy. Tough guy to put out. Shows how great Sugar Ray Robinson was to elevate to that next level against Jake Lamotta. Oh, I can share many more all-time great boxing stories, but a lot of you youngins out there don't care for it simply because you think what you see today is a part of history. I don't want to hear about what happened over the weekend with the fake undefeated fighter David Benavidez. I don't want to hear anything about guys protecting their oaths like Floyd Mayweather and Terrence Crawford. I don't want to hear about anything like that because I've seen more than you guys think. And I'm not Mr. Know-it-all when it comes to the historian of the sport, but I know more than you think. If you think you're going to try anything like that past me, think again. Because I can pull up the history books and basically play your game and make you look foolish, but I won't even go there because sometimes I just let sleeping dogs lie and leave them be. Why? Because it's not worth my time. Some of you guys, instead of wasting your time putting guys like Terrence Crawford and David Benavidez on pedestal they have no business being on, just maybe spend this time looking back at some of the great fighters that came before our time that opened the path for guys like that. That's mine just coming from a guy who's a Terrence Crawford fan. Bottom line is this: having one fight a year the last 4 years doesn't do you anything. And I love Terrence Crawford to the moon and back. He started back to protecting his O like Floyd Mayweather did. Hopefully he fights Canelo Alvarez soon. And that'll wrap up this edition of Sirhan on X. I hope everybody out there has themselves a wonderful 5th of February 2025. I swear February came by real quick. I mean, even the snow days here in Cincinnati, it felt like days were longer. But we're in February already. Sheesh. I guess time flies when you hit the age of 47. And as always, I like to tell everybody at the end of the show, because I see some new followers here, always make self-care your number one priority. If you don't take care of yourself first, if you can't take care of yourself first, nothing else matters. Take care of yourself first before you do anything else. Don't hang around people that treat you as a priority when in their minds they think of you as an option. Stay true to yourself. Good things always follow. I've learned that the hard way myself. Until then, have yourselves a wonderful night. I will be back tomorrow night with my Super Bowl preview and pick. Until then, good night. Take care of yourselves, and God bless.